Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all. Thank you for coming for this session. In the next 25 minutes, what we like to do is to bring you to a journey about understanding a new hybrid technology. Today, hybrid technology is a proven technology, but there is a lot of debate whether it's affordable and whether it is meant to be out from the ODM or out from the engineering company. I present a company called Diffran Research Technologies in Berhad, and here I have my partner from India, Mr. Chinmay from KPIT. This technology is a collaborative effort between our company and KPIT from Pune in India. The technology is derived from India, and today, hopefully within the next 4 days, you can come to our booth, and we will try to show you what, how simple hybrid can be retrofitted in your car. And in our booth, you can see a police car that we have converted into a hybrid technology. So I will do the presentation in two parts. Firstly, I'll present about Diffran, and my friend Chinmay will present about KPIT and technology. Okay, Diffran Research we are an independent R&D company. We've been recognized by MADA, by them giving us a grant to do our research. Basically, we emphasize about people and technologies. We integrate core team researchers. We work together with university partners. We have associate professors in Meiji University in Japan. We have an associate researcher in UPM and also in UTM. So what we do, we integrate technologies. We do technology mining of research and patents that's out there in the public at large. We refine the process and we then commercialize. That provides a win-win situation with both parties. So we're not purely a research company, but we also process-oriented that bring technology to the market. We basically want to be the leading R&D company in Malaysia in the next 5 years. Now, the way we work, we have two companies. Today we have a parent company called Diffran Research. We also have a subsidiary, a JV company with a local company called IDC Sdn Berhad that does the manufacturing. Okay, so what we do is we work with government, agencies like MADA, KETA and so on. We work with academician universities like UPM, UTM and Meiji universities, and we work with the private sector. So we become the integrator of technology to commercialize it to what we would benefit the consumer. Next. We have three main projects that we're working on now. One is what we call the digital controller. We are not an LED manufacturer. Everybody knows the benefit about LED from conventional. I think a lot of companies and shopping malls are converting to LED. What we do is we have a digital controller device that you embed it in LED. It makes improvement of the energy consumption by about 7%. But what you can do, it then create a different control pattern. You can even increase and decrease the height of lux, and you can control a community of LED. And we are trying to push this, and we have a patent for this in Malaysia. We're also working on what we call a wireless charging technology. This is with our professor from UPM. If you can imagine a device today, if I have this device plugged in, most of your iPhone can be charged without having to do wiring. We have a prototype that's been displayed in our booth, and we hope to get it to commercialization by early next year. So it's a very unique, and I think it creates a value proposition to the consumer. We also have research in digital cooling. What we want to do is we want to compress the current cooling system in the aircon to make it lighter and cheaper and still provide the same impact for cooling in the car. And the same can be modified to have cooling system, in mobile cooling unit, in office and so on and so forth. So this is the technology that you can see in our booth. Next. Now I'll pass to Chinmay, who will explain about KPIT and will explain more detail about the hybrid.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, I guess it's good afternoon now. So I'll spend a couple of minutes on KPIT, our company, what we do, where we're coming from, and then I'll go into the technology part. And like it was mentioned earlier, we have a vehicle out there. You should definitely come by and take a look, and we are there to answer questions as well. You want me to give that a shot? So KPIT is basically it's a technology consulting company. We have been in this space for the last 20 odd years, working primarily in automotive, transportation, manufacturing, and in energy and utilities segments. So we tend to be very focused in a particular domain, and that's where we work. From a size point of view, we are about $400 million in revenue, listed in Indian stock exchanges, with about 40% investors who are institutional investors, while we are still a promoter-run company. So just to give you a snapshot about where all we are about 8,000 plus employees. I mentioned the revenue part. We focus in these areas. We don't, like I said, we are very focused in what we do, and these are the areas which we are focused on. We have about 31 offices in 16 countries, and now with the DFRAN conversation, we got one more in there as well. Next one talks about what do we do, right? So these are our customers. We work with almost every OEM, the top 13 OEMs out of 20. We have our products and our services which are part of over 300 vehicle programs running on the road, and I'm quite proud of the fact that none of the recalls or any of the issues have had anything to do with our solutions so far. That kind of quickly talks about what we do on the automotive side. Again, a different view. When it comes to automotive itself is a fairly vast area, and as a technology consulting company, we also have been conscious about picking and choosing what we do. And this slide talks about what we do within the automotive space. So AUTOSAR is as vehicles become more and more electrified, be it on control side or on the powertrain side, it's important that the network and the communication between different control units is seamless and effective. These are mission critical communications. We actually have a product which does this, and it's actually used by what used to be known as Premier Automotive Group of Ford. So it had like Jaguar, it had Aston Martin, it had Mazda, it had Volvo. So all these companies use our product for communication inside the vehicle. And then we do some of the other things as well. Functional safety is a very critical and upcoming space, and we have expertise for this particular technology out of our German offices. Some of the other things which we do along with it, and then I'm now going to go into Revolo, which is the product we have been talking about. So we'll just take a step back and talk about what people how people look when they talk about hybrids in general. Now you would have noticed hybrids tend to have these kind of categories: micro hybrid, full hybrid, plug-in, EV. They tend to be rigid, and the definition is very difficult to do about what's a mild and where does a strong or a full hybrid start. This basic rigid categorization creates a perceived need for a full electric system, full electric mode, where the vehicle may be significantly large, for a very limited duration, for a very limited speed, the vehicle is expected to run as a pure electric vehicle. So if you look at the Toyota models or one of the recent models which are coming out elsewhere as well, depending on their configuration, you would have anywhere from 5 miles to 100 miles of pure electric ability. Now what that means is that your motor is sized to run the whole vehicle by itself. The battery is sized to run the whole vehicle by itself. And after that is done, you have an engine which is again sized to run the whole vehicle by itself. What that means is you have one vehicle with 2 different and independent powertrains. That's pretty expensive. The other piece is that when you have a motor which is able to run the whole vehicle by itself, you need a big motor as well as a large battery pack. And you need to operate it at very high voltages. There have been news about vehicles catching fires, and specific events have specific reasons. But when you're operating at high voltage, you're operating at that higher risk. So we talked about the safety, and also the other part is the cost, right? What about the cost? The cost goes up, and all of that actually leads to something which is very expensive, something which is fairly unaffordable. I mean, Malaysia is a very unique example where the tax structure is encouraging this, but when you look at a pure cost instead of the selling point side, the system cost is very high, the motors are very expensive, the batteries are very expensive, the battery life is under a lot of discussion. So the whole thing becomes very, very difficult to convince a lay consumer to just go and buy a hybrid product. So this is what we kind of started as our problem statement, said, can we answer this? Can we change the paradigm? And what we have done is actually looked at exactly like that. So instead of going for conventional hybrid categories, we said, you know what, let's go for a small motor, but let's make it plug-in. So you actually start using the external power, and you don't need a large motor to do that. So that's what we did. It's able to give what is typically considered a full hybrid level of benefits, but had a significantly lower integration issue point of view as well, but also from a significantly lower price point. This is an AC induction motor, which is again a better price point compared to permanent magnet motors, which are normally used. We have, this is our own design. So this is a unique design which allows us to have very high peak output. So while the motor might look small for an instant of acceleration, for a second, half a second of acceleration, the motor is able to give a surge of power which will make a meaningful difference to the engine as well as the vehicle performance. The next part talks about how it actually operates. So this is a little technical slide which I would like to spend a couple of minutes. The blue color is the vehicle speed, and you'll notice that the blue color is pretty much the same on both these graphs. So this is the vehicle which is driven as per the European drive cycle, except it's shaved off. The top speed is shaved off at 90, which normally goes to 120. Otherwise, it's the European drive cycle, which is most of the countries around the world use this for vehicle testing. The maroon color is the CO2 emissions. And I would like to kind of bring your attention to the fact when you're talking about this part of the drive cycle, which is called the urban cycle, the emissions for a non-hybrid vehicle hover between 500 to 1,000. And it shoots at these two acceleration points to 3,000. Well, the reason why it actually stops at 3,000 is because the device is not able to read beyond 3,000. Beyond 3,000 is considered too much anyway. So when you have the system operating as a hybrid vehicle, you'll notice this actually barely touches 500. So all the acceleration which the engine normally has to deliver by itself is able to be done by the motor, and you allow the engine to ramp up gradually. And again, this is not rocket science, but if you look at the engine which is in a car and an engine which is in a genset, the genset engine is more efficient because the RPM variation is down, the engine demands are steady. Now what we try to do using the motor is to allow the vehicle engine to operate more like a genset and less of an automotive engine. And all that fluctuation, all that immediate demands which the driver wants, the motor provides. And when the engine is steady, the motor backs off. So you have the efficiency of the engine optimized by itself before you go into the plug-in and the external energy parts. Because we are using a small motor and are not operating continuously but operating on and off basis, we can actually operate at 48 volts. Now this is also a big change and makes a lot of difference both from a security and a safety point of view, but also from a cost point of view. And the last part, which is what allows this to be a retrofittable technology, is that minimum change is required to install this system. You don't want to go change everything in a vehicle for it to be hybrid, because then the base vehicle questions and concerns can come into play. So when we design our system, our objective is to take minimum components out of the vehicle. Actually, the target is to have nothing come out of the vehicle. Everything of the vehicle stays in. We just provide additional components to make all the difference we can. Now, this is something which anybody and everybody who's looking at alternate powertrain talks about and is worried about: the battery. What do you do about the battery? The batteries are not powerful enough. The batteries are not, the energy density is not high enough. And we realize that. So what we have done is that we have designed a system which is agnostic to the underlying battery. So today you can use lithium ion, tomorrow you can use some other new chemistry, or in places like India, for example, where the price structures are extremely harsh, you actually might want to use lead. So given the market, given the technology, you can swap the battery to be optimum. And that's another unique feature which we have. All of this actually leads to an affordable hybrid which can have significant volume potential. And if you look at the volume side, if you look at the more popular vehicles in history, like the Toyota Corolla, Honda Accord, which have been very popular worldwide, they would normally hit 1 million production in like 3-4 years. You look at the most popular hybrid, which is the Prius, it took them 11 years. This is something which we believe is going to be critical. You need to hit high volumes, you need to hit high volumes soon, and this, we believe, is going to allow us to do that. So, all that technology is nice, right? But what does it give? So I'll just talk about what we give from a fuel consumption point of view. So 30 to 40% fuel is reduced, and that can actually get translated into a fairly significant amount. From a Malaysia point of view, we have been working with our partners. This is 1 million liters saved per year. That's a lot. again, from an emissions point of view, where about 30 or 35% gets saved, this comes out to so many million tons of CO2 emissions saved. And then finally, when you're talking about a consumer, or even from a national point of view, the question is, fuel is good, emissions is nice, but am I making a difference to the wallet? And this is what is also a critical factor to consider. Now, one thing which we have not really talked about is the fact that it actually improves vehicle performance. The vehicle acceleration can go up. Now, you have to, of course, maintain safety, etc., so that the vehicle doesn't speed or hit accelerations which are beyond what the vehicle is designed for, but you can get there sooner. And this can make a significant amount of difference when you're talking about engines or vehicles, rather, which are underpowered or which are designed for sluggish performance. This can make a difference there. And finally, this can be retrofitted for a large range of vehicles, from a very small vehicle of like 800 cc all the way up to 3-liter pickup trucks. This again is a technology which can go into natural gas vehicles. This is a technology which can go into diesel vehicles. This is a technology which can go into gasoline vehicles. It's designed to be agnostic to the fuel which is going in. Some of the components, and we have a similar display at the booth as well. We have the motor, which we talked about, is our design. The motor controller is designed to use the best which is out there in power electronics. The hybrid ECU and the battery management system, the BMS, is again something which we have designed. The whole objective here is to have 30 to 40% components common across vehicles. So if you have a Toyota Hilux, or if you have a Hyundai i10, 30 to 40% of the components are the same. Now, scale is again very critical when you talk about automotive. We are going to hit that because of this benefit as well. So, I got a couple of slides which talk about the technology. This is a different view. This is basically the BSFC curve, or the power curve of an engine at different RPMs. You'll notice in a normal vehicle, it's fairly scattered. In a hybrid, it actually comes down, it comes in, and it gets very consolidated, which means the engine variation is down, and we talked about that earlier as well. The other important piece is, now that you have another computer, or the ECU, into the vehicle, we can use it to drive down the variation. Every driver drives differently, so when you go to a dealership and he says, oh, your vehicle is going to give you going to take 7 liters for 100 kilometers, and you go home and you find it doesn't do it for me. It actually could be because you drive in a different manner. Now, there are two ways to do it, right? Either you can fix yourself, or the vehicle can fix itself based on how you drive. We believe instead of working on the driver, the vehicle should do the hard job. So that's something which we can do by using the electronics. Also, we talked about the chemistry part. All this leads to something which is very novel and not anywhere in the world, and we got patents for this, both India as well as international. We got a couple of critical patents already filed and granted in the US as well. We talked about functional safety, and this is going to be extremely important as you increase the complexity of vehicles. So this is going to be ISO 26262 compliant. A lot of things look good in simulations or in presentations. The real decision is when it works on the road. So we have been testing the product for over 150,000 kilometers, a large variety of products in different terrains, in different weather conditions, in different rainfall conditions, in different cities with different drivers. So we're trying to collect all the variation to be sure that the product works across. This is another interesting chart. We talked about the fuel efficiency from about 14 to going close to 2021 or so. The other important point which I mentioned was the variation, right? If you look at the standard deviation, it actually goes down from 0.96 to 0.85. So different people will start getting same results. Of course, it has to be certified. So we are working with both the Indian government as well as the international bodies which set up regulations for for automotive products to be sure that the product is covered. Some of the recognition which we have got, Wall Street Journal, Wharton, there are other awards from, some of them are from India, India recognized as well. So it's, the product is interesting, and I believe it will be very appropriate and valid for the market we are talking about, which is Malaysia. do visit us in the booth. There's a car which you can see. We have the motor which is already integrated. So that's what I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I just want to make a point. In Malaysia in particular today, apart from having a normal car, the alternative is today is LPG. You go down to a LPG shop, you retrofit your car, you pay about 6,000 to 8,000 ringgit. I mean, it saves you fuel, but the only concern today is it doesn't go to private because of the existence of LPG outlets throughout the country. It's limited. You can see today taxi drivers waiting for queue to just fill in an LPG tank. But if it's abundance across the country, people will go for LPG because it saves the pocket. So what we're trying to do today, we are trying to introduce a new technology that any normal guy can come in and bring your car. We can retrofit with the Rovolo hybrid technology. And it's safe as LPG. And your car configuration is not damaged at all. It stays as it is. And you can, if you don't believe me, you can go to our booth. You can see a police Iswara. Inspira. And you know how police are. They're very particular in how to go into their car. So what it does, it offers today a normal consumer an alternative. And today price at the pump is about 210 ringgit per litre. And you know why? You know which way it's heading, right? It's not going down, it's going up. So as it goes up, the pressure becomes more for people to look at alternative for fuel saving. And here you're not talking about fuel, you're talking about also CO2. For the bigger agenda of the government, where the Prime Minister wants to commit to a CO2 reduction, this is a good alternative. What we want to do is, we want to prove the car, of course, as Chime had said, it's proven in India, and they're going to roll it out anyway. So we have brought the car here, the technology here, we're going to retrofit the car, we're going to test as robust as the police car, and hopefully we will tackle the fleet customers like the police, Spanco, and the taxis. But the end game is, any one of you who wants to convert to hybrid, you can come to us in the future. And it takes, once everything has been configured, it only takes about 45 minutes to an hour to get your car in and out. And your car will be a hybrid car. So that's how simple it is. So that is why I really believe, you know my background. I really believe in this technology. I've tested a few hybrid technology. I think it's very simple enough. But more importantly is, this perception about battery is taken off because you don't have to use lithium. You can use even a lead acid. Cost will come down because that's where one of the cost penalties. Secondly, it's safe. You don't have to worry about what we see perhaps in the other part of the world where batteries caught on fire because you're talking about lead acid, which is proven. But the system can accommodate both. Over time, when lithium-ion goes down in terms of cost and more stable, yes, we can convert. And the components are flexible and now it's be localized. So it's very simple. I mean, again, come to our booth, and what we hope to do, hopefully by next year, if everything goes well, we want to start introducing it to the public. And just like any other LPG supplier kit, will go out. If you ask me the cost today, based on the saving, it will be slightly higher than an LPG kit. An LPG kit today is about 6,000 to 8,000 ringgit and off the marketplace. So we are working very closely with the regulators and the government. They are involved in this project. And we hope by next year, when everything goes by, we hope to introduce this as a consumer product. And it will help both, not only the consumer, but also the government. So we've got 1 more minute. Any question? I know the...
Any question from the ground? We have 2 mics from the beside, or you can use my mic.
Okay, hi. I only have one question regarding the cost for a car. Like for nama Proton car, Perdana or Wajah, what is the cost for a car?
Well, I mean, today you can buy a Preve, about 65 to 75,000. You want to go and convert to a hybrid, you probably pay another 10,000 ringgit, it becomes a hybrid. You go to a hybrid car, I mean, there's a hybrid booth right in the corner here, you can ask them how much the price. But there's a positioning of the price. So hybrid today is perceived to be still very costly. But you go out to the ODM. Right now, what we're saying is, your car, any normal guy, can convert the car to a hybrid. The lifespan of the car is about 7 to 8 years if you can make. So if you finish your warranty period, you still want to reduce your consumption in terms of energy, you can convert. Today, what's your alternative? LPG. But you have to wait in queue because it's not necessarily accessible in the marketplace. I mean, it's there in Klang Valley, but if you go to Penang and other parts of the world, of the country, where do you get LPG from? But here, you can go anywhere. Any other question?
Amazing technology. So, is there any questions? Okay, last one. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Safrizal. I just wonder if this car is introduced here, is it will be in the category of hybrid car or the conventional automotive conventional car? Because
Second handicap.
the tax structure in Malaysia is quite unique, right?
Yeah, it will. Once it's hybrid, what we're working with the government today, it will be considered as a hybrid car. But again, the car is already on the road. You're not buying a new car. It's your car, which is now converted to a hybrid. So tax is not the equation anymore. But probably if you go to road tax and others, you probably fall under the hybrid category tax structure. Okay? Thank you very much.